Hello, my name is Jessica Barbosa Heluany. I'm currently a PhD candidate at NTNU IAK, and my project topic is on patch management digital twin for energy. I'd like to introduce you the project's members and contextualize the project, give you an overview of this proposal of patch management digital twin, and then explore the next step, that would be Delph methods. Where is there room for collaboration, which is the main reason of this video. So if you are asking yourself why you are watching this, I also would like to highlight that the ideal contact person would be the one responsible for patch management or vulnerability management, or closely related to it. And the benefits that we see from this collaboration would be access to the complete reports on this topic, plus insights on patch management based on other marketplaces. So we are planning to have 10 to 20 participants. So if you are receiving, you are probably a member of one of these research projects. And we believe that the time investment is not very high, so it would be as a minimum 2.5 hours from videos and forums, and distributed in 4 to 5 months. So if you are the contact person and you are keeping watching this video, I'd like to tell a little bit about my background. Before the PhD, I was working in industry for 8 years. So it was 6 years at Heluany and 1.5 at Siemens Infrastructure, where I could see how customers were struggling with dealing with new cybersecurity requests and this increasing threats in the market, especially energy market, given its importance. So this was one of the motivations to have the PhD and seek specialization in one of the cybersecurity topics for energy systems. And again, the overall goal of this presentation is to get a fruitful collaboration so that I can try to have some sort of bridge between academia and industry, and that the result of the research can be useful for both parts. If you are receiving this video and if you are watching, it means that you are either a partner of one of the European projects or you are known by one of the project members. So I'm the PhD candidate, Vasily is my main supervisor, and then Socrates and Steve are my co-supervisors. Contextualizing the project, I was hired through the Perseus doctoral program, in which it is mandatory to have either an academic or industrial internship. As I said, I was in industry before, so I chose the industrial internship so that I can keep the link between both. And within NTNU, I'm part of NORCICS research projects. From the internship, I had my internship at Siemens Energy, so I can keep my background of the energy sector. And they were already working with something related to vulnerability management. And what you are going to see is the main result of this internship and collaboration with them. To start with, I'd like to tell you how it translates to this work, energy systems, and to the partners. As you can see, there is an architecture here. It's a typical automation architecture. And one of the goals is to specify, not to have these typical components, but to specify with a model and a brand that is more typical in the energy sector in Europe in general. And a high-level concept of this patch management digital twin, you can see from here, trying to be easier to have this big picture, we made as pieces of puzzles. So we are working with relevant standards for both parts, again, industry and academia. And if you are wondering what is a digital twin, I guess it's an important question for anyone who is working with digital twin. There are several definitions. There is no consensus. It was one of the findings of my research so far. So we had to take one or create, and we went for the ISO definition. There is a standard for digital twin from ISO. And it says that it fits for a proposed digital representation of an observable manufacturing element with synchronization between the elements and its digital representation. So I highlighted here the word propose, because as you can see, it depends a lot on the propose. We are not going to simulate everything about the real systems, depending on the functionalities that we are planning to apply. Then the data that you need from your system, the synchronization chains. So ISO is for the digital twin definition and framework. And for the patch management workflow, we chose IEC 62443, which is the most relevant cybersecurity standard in Europe. For patch prioritization, we are basing some of our considerations in CVSS score, because again, it's very utilized by industry, it's publicly available. And to organize all this data and have a link also to the digital twin representation, we are following another IC standard. But it's not the main focus, I'm just commenting here that we are dealing with these 4 standards. Now taking a deeper look into IEC 62443, I just need you to be aware that there are 5 steps. It's again a guideline, it's not mandatory to follow. And it starts with information gathering, then monitoring and evaluation, patch testing, patch deployment, and verification and reports. So for this project, we were focusing mainly on information gathering. But of course, it's related to all steps, and the suggestion for data collection is related to all steps. Now going to the digital twin framework, this is already a customization of the ISO standards. And as you can see, this is another piece of the puzzle, but it shows how all of them are combined. So the other standards, they come into these entities of the digital twin framework. It starts with the user interface on top, and then we have the digital twin entity. It's composed of 3 other sub-entities: operation and management, application and service, and then resource access and interchange. And then we have the communication with the real systems through the data collection and patches control. There are across functionalities for data translation, data assurance, and security support. And again, recalling the architecture I mentioned before, this is how it translates. The communication with energy systems components. We can see here where the observable manufacturing elements were extracted from the typical architecture that we considered. Now, I'm not planning to go through all the data collection suggestions that we had as the result of the internship at Siemens Energy, but I'm just showing here that following the 5 stages of IEC 62443, we suggested a table of data collection for each phase, and also exemplifying with a possible use case and what would be the purpose of this data collection. So an easier way to understand for our idea now is to show that the data collection appears in the form of functionalities that are distributed among the entities of the digital twin that I just showed you. So if we are looking into monitoring evaluation and we consider CVSS score, for example, you can see again the typical architecture, and there is a light systems for the prioritization of security notifications. It could be from the publicly available database of CVSS scores, but as you might know, its environment is unique. And there is the possibility of recalculating CVSS scores. So instead of using the base metrics, we can go for the environmental ones. An easier way is to have a project customization. So it could be a new CIA for the project, where you'd have a confidentiality, availability, and integrity metrics for the whole system, the whole architecture, or it could be asset-based, in an asset-based method. So if the idea is to have asset-based metrics, then it would require much more data. And then again, I recall the tables, because we have suggested several data to be collected, but if we keep going with the project, we see that actually all those suggestions are related to functionalities and to the strategies for having these different prioritization calculations. Or another example that is the next slide is how we could develop some algorithms to improve the testing environments, and it's also related to the implementation strategy for the deployment phase. As you can see here, some possible parameters would be redundant and similar functionality, equipment that do not require plant interruption, also equipment that have patches approved by the supplier, so it means that the routes have a previous testing. And then we could have this functionality of suggesting a minimum testing environment. So if you are dealing with patch management, you are aware that many suppliers, they can suggest you to have mimic of the real environment so that you can test everything before applying, and then it doesn't cause plant interruption. But again, if we take a deeper look, so for example, HMIs, it can be that they have similar functions. So if we take, for example, a power plant or a substation with similar base, it's basically the same software, the same everything, if it was made in the same time. But it's not an essential component, at least from my experience in hydro power plants. It was basically for emergence mode operation. So they have similar functionalities. Sometimes they can be redundant, and they do not require plant interruption. If we consider all this, there could be that this algorithm suggests that you do not need testing environments for the HMIs. And then if you consider all the architecture, which is the other example, it could be that this algorithm suggests only a PLC, IED, and remote access to test patches before applying. So even if you have redundance for PLC, again, you have to keep the availability of the power plant of the substation. So these components, PLC and IED, are essential, and they would require plant interruption so that we can update software or firmware. So this is just to show you that when we consider all these features of the architecture and the components, we can optimize resources and have a minimum testing environment. And then it's also related to the deployment strategy of these patches, because not all of them it's necessary to be tested. It's something that should be decided by the asset owners. So now that you are aware of the current status of the research and what we are planning to do, we had all this data collection suggestion, but we are planning to focus just on some functionalities so that we keep looking into a specific set of data and relate them to the functionalities. So the next step is to apply the Delph method for this prioritization and testing strategies that I just talked about. If you're not familiar with Delph method, I wasn't familiar myself until not so long ago, but it's a simple idea. It consists of a group of experts trying to reach consensus about a given topic. So we have this preparing, conducting, and analyzing phase. We can conduct in several ways. So I chose one consent form and then other anonymous forms that are better explained here. So the plan for this Delph collaboration, and again, I repeat myself, that's the best contact person to keep going this collaboration would be the one responsible for patch management. And in our case, it would consist of the consent, which is this video that you are watching, to get an idea of the project, and then I will be available for a 13 minutes meeting for clarifications, sorry. Then I would send the consent form if you are willing to participate of all the next rounds. So this would be the only step that would require personal data, and we are following GDPR and NTNU guidelines for getting this. But the other rounds would be anonymous, as you can see from here. The first round would consist of this anonymous form to get input for getting to know what policies and tools and equipment and challenges you're facing about patch management. And then the other rounds would consist of videos similar to this one with the main results and how they applied. And then another anonymous form to get the possible criteria for these algorithms that I'm mentioning. And the feedback, I do my best to have forms that have some sort of feedback in them, but I will also be available for meetings if you feel the need to further explain your thoughts. Then the third round would consist already from the draft of these reasonings behind the suggestions, and then we can have another anonymous form for the algorithm evaluation. And given the importance of these rounds, there is an optional panel discussion so that we could have a real-time and synchronous collaboration. And then the last round with another video showing how the feedback was applied to update the algorithms and get a final evaluation of the collaboration and the project results. Again, summarizing the benefits and time investments, it would be from around 2.5 hours to 6. So if you want to give feedback through meetings, I'm available. I'd love to, but it's not mandatory, and it's distributed in 4 to 5 months. So we believe that it doesn't consume a lot of time from your part as well. And the panel discussion in between meetings are optional. So that's why it's from 2.5 to 6 hours. And the benefits would be to have access to reports of these players from the energy sector. It's a room to be heard and collaborate. So if you're taking part into one of the research projects or you're known by one of the project members, it's probably a good way of having these insights. So both for my project and for you in terms of maybe internal strategies on patch management. And we are also planning to have a Teams group so that during the phases we could all talk, and then we would have more room, and then the participants could also get insights between themselves, not only through me and the forms. That's it. Thank you for, if you reached the last slide, thank you so much for paying attention. And I'm available for comments and questions. If you're willing to participate, we can have this first meeting to clarify and follow the next round. Thank you. Bye.